When we talk about out-of-contract usage, we mean machinery usage that exceeds what was contractually agreed upon. So for example, running machines for more than 8 hours per day or more than 40 hours per week, whatever the respective policy is. IrisX continuously monitors equipment utilization data and actually compares it to the agreed limits to identify where usage overruns occur so that hours can actually be flagged and automatically actioned if desired. Having said that, hey, let's see how that looks in practice.
Great. We are back in our IrisX library. This time, I'd actually like to start out in our Analytics and Insights notebooks. Hey, for this part of the demo, I will open the out-of-contract usage notebook, something I've actually put together with the permission of one of our partners for part of their fleet. And what's interesting here is that even by using IoT data alone, you can get incredibly far. So applying some connectivity-based logic only, we are looking at a maximum of, for example, 8 hours per day, 40 hours a week, respectively, while not permitting any weekend use. And with these pre-built notebooks provided by us, you can actually plug in your own contract logic. And IrisX will automatically calculate when and how much out-of-contract usage might have occurred. Looking at this particular example, on the left-hand side, you can see the month-over-month number of out-of-contract events, each event representing a breach on the agreed-upon operating time. And you can see that levels fluctuate between roughly 1,000 and 2,000 events per month, with some notable peaks. So for instance, August spiking up to about 1,900 events. On the right-hand side instead, we're looking at the number of machines used out of contract. Here, with a partial fleet size of about 4,500 machines, you can see that roughly 1 in 4 machines operate out of contract at least once per month over the course of the latest months. Hey, on the one hand, that trend is clearly going up. So from around 500 machines in January to about thousands by December, so doubling in under a year. And then at the same time, just think about what it means for your operating hours on the respective machines and the impact on value on the aftermarket. Hey, then if we dive a bit deeper, we can start breaking down what's actually causing these out of contract occurrences. All right, so on the left hand side again, you can see the breakdown by reasons. Most of the cases here, about 55%, are due to machines exceeding the weekday maximum of 8 operating hours per day. Another roughly 30% come from breaching the weekly limit of 40 hours, and roughly 15% are weekend operations, which technically shouldn't happen at all, at least per logic that we set out earlier. Hey, this kind of breakdown is super useful because it tells you initially where to focus your mitigation efforts, right? Whether it's adjusting maybe your weekday caps, maybe ensuring access policies to machines with access management hardware, or just monitoring specific customer segments that frequently exceed their limits. Now, on the right-hand side, something even more important, revenue potential. If you take those out of contract events and apply a standard average rental rate across the machines in scope, we're looking at a total of just over $1.1 million between January and September 2025 across a fleet of around 4,500 machines. That's quite substantial. It means that simply identifying and monetizing out-of-contract usage could unlock 6-figure monthly opportunities, as you can see in August, where we hit more than 200K in potential recoverable value. And again, all of this comes purely from IoT data, no manual input required. You could identify this out of the box with IrisX. Hey, but of course, we want to go even further. And this is where it gets really interesting when we start connecting this connectivity data with rental information. Hey, and this plays a major part when it comes to our offering around our customer portal functionality. Here, I must say at this point, stay tuned. I think we have some very exciting updates in the short-term pipeline that right now I'm only allowed to spoil a bit, but over the course of this year, some communication will follow. What I can say though, is that if you would like to hear more already about it now, again, just press the Talk to Expert button and you will have me and colleagues dive into that with you. Now that we have touched base on out-of-contract usage using only connectivity data and rules based upon the same, let's dive deeper on what else can be done. To provide additional data, you could bring in additional information, and in this case, rental information via the so-called rental API. At its core, the rental API enables you to bring in rental information through the rental lifecycle as really the bridge between your operational data and your commercial logic. So in our documentation, and then in this chart here, there's multiple information layers to it. That includes details like rental status, the owning depot, on-rent and off-rent dates, and even the respective rental rates themselves, whether they are hourly, daily, weekly, or fixed value agreements. Hey, and this opened up a range of possibilities, right? So just from an ERP synchronization, ensuring that every rental event is instantly visible for your operational teams in Trackunit Manager or your own custom applications. Another perspective is around automated servicing, so triggering service tasks the moment a machine goes off rent, similar to what we've seen earlier. You can also just drive custom analytics, so combining time series and rental data to drive more in-depth analysis. So overall, the goal here is obviously not about data sharing itself, it's creating a live digital thread between what happens in the field and what happens in your back office. So let me bring up an example where I've actually used the rental API to bring in contract information and attached it directly to an asset. You can see the machine here, and attached to it are several contract details. When it was delivered, when it went on rent, how many days are left, and when pickup is actually expected. Next to that, we have the rental rate, and as you can see, usage restricted days such as Saturday and Sunday. Using this information, hey, the utilization chart below already highlights automatically out of contract usage, shown in red, which indicates that this particular machine has been used well beyond its agreed limits over the last month. Great. Hey, so moving back to what this could mean for our out of contract use case. Now, instead of using connectivity data only, you've enhanced the context for analysis with rental data. When you scale this up across the entire fleet, IrisX combines the IoT data with rental data, giving you both precision and commercial context. So what I've done here as an example is to dive deep a little bit into owning depot or machinery type, adding an entirely new dimension for the insights that we actually saw earlier. What I actually found interesting in this case is how the pattern remains quite similar to what we saw with IoT data only, but then the revenue potential decreased actually slightly. And that's the difference between a proxy signal and true contract-linked data. Now, next question is, how do we actually act on these insights automatically? I know many of our partners out there actually use the utilization report per machine and then go through a variety of steps, partially manual, some semi-automated, to come to the results. Hey, just imagine the time saved here, while also the revenue opportunity at hand. What I've done to action this insight is to use our automation studio again. So let me just head back there. What you can see now is a third recipe called out of contract automation recipe. The example I will show, hey, isn't meant to be an end-to-end product setup today. It's a simple illustration of how you can automate actions across your systems using IrisX. Here you can actually see that I've connected a Salesforce account, not our internal one, just a sandbox instance for demo purposes, but similar to how we earlier triggered an automation when an asset entered the site, we now have out of contract utilization as webhook trigger here as well. So checking a bit the details here, you can see a lot of the information from the schema we have seen earlier from the rental API. That means whenever a machine is detected as being used out of contract, IrisX can automatically trigger tasks. Hey, in this example, the workflow is fairly simple. I created two things. So on the one hand, it creates a task in Salesforce, and then second, it also creates a Salesforce opportunity. The idea here is that once the system detects overuse, it can immediately notify your commercial teams, initiate follow-up actions, or if you want to go further, even prepare automated billing steps. Here I'm just providing a limited set of information to the respective entities, mainly to keep it simple for this demo. But as I said, of course, you could extend this workflow however you like, just as we did earlier, for example, by scheduling the email, triggering a Teams notification, updating fields in other connected systems, and so on and so on. So let me actually switch into our Salesforce developer account that I mentioned earlier. So when we go into the task overview, you can see here that the automation already has created a new task, currently assigned to me, and then the comment body matches exactly what I specified in the automation studio earlier when it says out of contract. I think that's a great validation that the webhook logic and connector chain all worked as intended. Next up, let's also check the opportunities. Here you can see that in addition to the task that we have seen earlier, a new opportunity has been created as well automatically. It's got a close date in place 2 days from now, demonstrating just how easily the setup could feed directly into a commercial process, such as follow-up calls, billing discussions, or customer communication. Hey, amazing. With that, I will conclude the second part of the demo, which showcased how integrations, connectors, and the automation studio come together inside IrisX. What you have seen is how we can move from simply detecting operational events in IoT data to enriching them with maybe additional commercial context, and also finally act on them across business systems in real time. It's this particular combination that makes IrisX so powerful. Seamlessly using the harmonized data from the lakehouse, connecting systems that are of importance, and then run automated workflows to eliminate manual work, handoffs, and make processes both smarter and faster. Good. With that, I will hand it back to you, Domokos, to share a bit about what you actually have seen in the field and how customers are using these capabilities at scale.
With out-of-contract usage, what we have seen is from a 5,000 machine generalist rental company surfacing about $2 million worth of previously missed invoices. So what used to take weeks of manual reconciliation now happens instantly. Usage data and contract terms aligns automatically, as Leo has shown it. And the impact is not only top-line revenue or surfaced invoices. You might be sitting there and wondering, in fact, those invoices or sending those invoices would do only harm to my business. What we have seen is by addressing such billing gaps or invoicing gaps proactively, having a conversation with your customer, we've seen about 10% higher retention, purely driven by stronger transparency and trust by having that conversation with your customers. So in essence, what you have seen from Leo is a more advanced stage of out-of-contract use case, a revenue-based automation to your Salesforce. But do you need to start there? Absolutely not. Getting started with out-of-contract is and can be as simple as using your IoT data. Leo already also mentioned this. So at this stage, your team gains visibility. You can see which machines or equipment are being used out of contract, purely based on your IoT data. This alone already allows your sales or account managers to have better conversation with their customers, leading to higher retention. As we already discussed, 10%, we already know that. In the next layer, as Leo also showed, you can now start integrating contract data. So you can correlate usage with customer-specific contract terms. This makes the insights even sharper. You're not just saying, hey, this machine was used, but now you're saying this machine was used outside the agreed upon terms for this date for you, dear customer. And it's important to highlight, we are not recreating systems here. When I talk to many of you, a common question that comes up, Dear Trackunit, are you now becoming an ERP? Absolutely not. We are integrating with your ERP system. So your ERP remains the master of the data, and the data flows seamlessly between systems, between IrisX and your ERP. So the next level, if you're going beyond the usage versus contract, is all around automatic notifications. So that's what also Leo was just sharing to your sales and commercial team. So now they can proactively reach out to customers when an out of contract usage occurs, rather than discovering it a month later. So this turns what used to be reactive reconciliation process into proactive revenue and relationship opportunity. Finally, at the highest level of depth, you can achieve operational automation. The fully automated stage where new invoice is issued automatically within your billing, within your ERP, based on usage data, no manual steps involved, no reconciliation cycles, just clean, transparent revenue that's triggered directly from real-time machinery data. So whether you're starting at visibility or aiming at the full operational automation, the key takeaway is that every level creates value and tangible business impact. You don't need to make a big leap. You can start simple, prove the value fast, and scale with your automation needs as your data maturity grows. So now you might be wondering, is out of contract usage the only area where you can automate with the help of IrisX? Well, the answer here as well, absolutely not. So automation can go far, far beyond just billing or contract alignment. Think of any process, as Laura already mentioned it in the beginning, think of any process in your business that runs on data, whether it's machine services, whether it's machine movements or machine usage, as some of you are already asking about, like job sites. If it's data-driven, then it can be automated. With IrisX, those triggers can come straight from your machines, a service overdue, a machine leaving a depot, or even a high force usage event, a fault code. And once that trigger happens, the next step is whether it's creating a ticket, notifying a team, creating a report, that can happen automatically. That's why we say the opportunities to automation becomes limitless. So you can start small, prove the value fast, and then scale your automation processes across your entire fleet operation.